Greetings, mutie lovers. This is Uncanny, the mutant musings of Matt and Siz. It's the show where we discuss Marvel's Uncanny X-Men comic issue by issue, all the way from 1975's giant size X-Men #1 to the present day. My name is Matt. I write and draw Steamroller Man, a comedy superhero comic, which you can read online for free at steamrollerman.com. And this is my co-host, Siz, publisher, promoter, and founder of Comex Studios Australia. You can find everything Comex at comex.net.au. That's comex.net.au. Hello, Siz.
Hello.
How are you?
I am excellent, and I've been told I need a catchphrase. So I'll throw it in there as part of the website. Comex. There is no I in Comex. There you go. Because it's a team effort. It's a nice little analogy there. But yeah, back to the show. I am excellent. I had a lot of fun reading this one. And I believe this is our first Juggernaut.
Yes.
Although he was in there for a second on the last one, wasn't he?
Yeah, they introduced him right at the end of the last issue.
Yeah.
So this is
the unstoppable Juggernaut.
This is the first issue with the all new, all different X-Men team facing Juggernaut. Yeah. Which I guess we should say this is issue number 102.
Oh yes, 102. This was a December 76 release. And I should probably go through who was working on it. We got Chris Claremont as the author. We got Dave Cockrum as the artist. We got Sam Granger as the inker. He looks like he's the inker now.
Yeah, he's back. Sam Granger, my favorite inker so far, is back.
And I looked forward, and he's on the next 3 issues. So
awesome!
Because I was curious about that. But there's still a swapping of the letters and the colors. So we've got John Costanza as the letterer on this one, and Bonnie Wilford is the colors, and Archie with his little cheeky comments all through the comic is the editor.
And I think this is the first issue where Bonnie Wilford is listed with her full name, because we've commented in previous issues that the letterer and colorist get short shrift by they only have an initial for their last name. This is the first time we actually see what her full name is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I didn't know. That's probably why I didn't know it was someone who had already been on, because I hadn't seen the name before.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was someone new. And I had to look up. Yeah, I had to look up other ones because I was looking at other issues going ahead because I was getting a bit excited about this story, and I've read like about 5 or 6 issues ahead.
Oh wow! You're further ahead
I went crazy. So I'll reread them each week though.
Right.
But there's a lot of that. There's like just initials for the letterers and the colorist. They're different.
Yeah, it's interesting
as well. So I don't know why they're so unimportant. The other thing I've noticed, compared to when I was younger, the colorist always went before the letterer in the 90s.
Right, that's true.
I don't know if this is a silly thing to say, but in this one, the letterer is going before the colorist.
Yeah.
So it's like, colorist.
It is interesting, the evolution of the credits, because I know that, like before the Silver Age of comics really started in the early 60s, they didn't really credit any of the creators in, the golden age of comics. They except for, by Bob Kane with, Batman by Bob Kane, or Superman by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, even though a lot of the time, especially as it went into the 40s and 50s, Bob Kane wasn't actually the guy writing and drawing those Batman issues, even though his name was listed as the sole creator on each comic story. And then I think Stan Lee was actually the one who innovated crediting the creators when he started the Marvel age of comics, where he listed himself as the writer, and then, Jolly Jack Kirby and, Smiling Steve Ditko or whatever he called him.
Yeah.
But even then, at the beginning, they still didn't list. I don't think they listed the colorist, because I always used to wonder, even though they listed the letterer a lot of the time, the
Oh, okay.
colorist
That's
was
interesting.
always omitted for some reason. So it seems like it was sort of this gradual evolution through the 60s and 70s until, we're now at the point with this issue where every person on the creative team is listed with their full names. But it's interesting that even a few issues before this, the letterer and the colorist weren't, listed by their full name. It was John C and Bonnie W kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I was looking at that, and I think it might just be a room, like how much room they've got across the page. And for some reason, the letterer and the colorist have to pay for that lack of room.
Well, the interesting thing is with that argument is, but the letterer is the one fitting the letters.
Oh, yeah, true.
So why wouldn't he kind of work it out so that he could at least have his entire name listed? I don't know. Like
that makes more sense.
It's such a small thing to sort of be fascinated by, but it's one of these
I really
minutiae kind of elements.
Yeah, because the other thing I've noticed, not trying to take this whole show up with the credits, but
Yeah, exactly.
in the 90s they listed everyone, even the editor-in-chief.
Yes, true.
And
That's true.
they only go as high as the editor here on these books. And I remember editor-chief, I remember editor-assistant used to be listed, all sorts of stuff. The only reason I know that is because I wrote out the credits for every single comic I owned. So I got to...
Wow.
I was quite intimate with that because I made a website
obsessive.
with it. I made a website with every comic. I had information about each one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I sold that collection and I deleted the website. I regret that a little bit.
Oh, no.
Because that was a lot of work.
Yeah. That sounds like it would be a ton of work.
Yeah. I mean, scanning the covers was enough work. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
Speaking of a ton of work, a lot of work went into this issue. On the splash page, we've got, now the X-Men are in mid-battle. Really nice deep space composition with Storm pushed into the foreground. Obviously, they're featuring her claustrophobia, which is, became a plot point with the last issue. And this issue, I think we go into Aurora's origin story, which I think is one of the most interesting things about this issue.
Yep, I agree. We go into why she's claustrophobic. We go into and what happened to her after that, and how she ended up becoming a goddess in Africa.
Yes, yeah,
that's really cool. I like that about this. That they flashed to that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But
and yeah, the fact that Sam Granger is back on inks, I'm very happy about, because I really do like his inks on Dave Cockrum's artwork. I think he's one of the better inkers that we've had in the issues that we've read so far.
Yeah, they work well together. I'll agree, because you pointed it out last time, and I actually took notice this time, and it's like, yeah, he really does suit Dave Cockrum's art.
Yeah, I think so. So, so then issue 2. Page 2.
Page 2, yep.
So this is where we learn that Black Tom Cassidy, who is Banshee's cousin, and Banshee are actually immune to each other's powers.
What's with
Did you know that before?
Immune to each other? No, I did not know that before, and I don't know if they keep that either. I'm curious if we go once we go forward, if that's something that's kept, because Scott and Havoc are not immune to each other's powers at the moment. But I know in the future they are. So
interesting.
Maybe they're not again after that. Retcons. You gotta love comics.
Right.
But what I found amusing about this page is I saw Black Tom properly for the first time,
Yeah.
and that he's got a real Hordak from She-Ra look going on.
Oh yeah, especially with his
So I'm like, who stole who? Who stole what from who?
right. Yeah. He does have that. Yeah, like with the high collar
Yeah,
and
the high collar,
the bat or whatever
the
that
red
is on
bat.
his chest symbol. Yeah. That's a really ornate and kind of complicated symbol to
Yeah,
draw
look at all the little lines in it.
on his chest with all that line work in it. Especially for this era of design. I mean, these days there's so much detail on comic book characters' costumes. You know, and with Jim Lee kind of put more detail on his costume designs, and then we went to Brian Hitch designs the Ultimates and stuff in the 2000s, and that was very realistic looking. Just drawing every buckle and every stitch and every lace on a boot and stuff like that. This is still back in the era where it's yeah, no, I can't imagine. I would find it sort of tedious to draw all that detail over and over again. I much prefer these more simple designs, but yeah, that bat design just sort of stuck out to me as being slightly more complicated than what you'd normally see.
Yeah, maybe they had an argument with the colorist and said, "Take that, you're coloring that in. Here's a little intricate design for you to deal with." Right. Now I'm just being silly. But yeah, it's really interesting how they're immune to each other and they're only cousins. Maybe that's where they got the idea for Scott and Havoc later on. I love how I call them Scott and Havoc instead of
right, Scott and Alex.
Yeah,
or Cyclops and Havoc.
Yeah. It's like, Scott, he's an old friend.
Yep.
Yeah, Scott.
First name basis.
Ooh, Havoc. He's a criminal or a superhero, whichever. He seems to change all the time.
Yep.
But yeah, so this was cool, and I love the Juggernaut in this. It's like you think they've got a chance, but not to spoil it, but they ain't got a chance. I love this one. This page. So I've just skipped to the next page without you saying anything.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I love this page where Wolverine grabs Colossus and throws him into Juggernaut.
Yeah, it's like a reverse fastball special.
Yeah, it's like when did Wolverine become strong enough to throw Colossus?
Yeah. This one, I thought it's like, well, it's funny because Wolverine is so like abrasive, just like rude to all his teammates at this point. Like he's saying, I love the like Colossus is actually looking out for Storm because he notices like, wait, there's something wrong with Storm. Well, I got to go check on her, and then Wolverine's like, forget Storm, you tin-plated dummy, or whatever he says.
Yeah, something like that.
Forget Storm, you tin dummy.
Yeah, that's it.
It's sort of interesting that he doesn't come across as like Wolverine doesn't really come across as a team player at this point. Whereas in later issues, he sort of, I guess, has gone through a character arc where he's like, ride or die for the X-Men, and I'll lay down my life for any of these people. But here it's just like, I don't like you people. I don't want to be here. I guess he's still too new to the teamwork dynamic.
Even moving forward though, he still says that he's a loner. He still says that he works better alone. But he's a team player in the future. Yeah, he just says it all the time. I'm not a team player, but you're a team player, dude.
Yeah, so it does one thing that this battle does really show that they're not really making much of a dent against Juggernaut at all. Like everything that they try and do is ineffectual, and it's not. Well, we'll get to the bit at the end when something they do does actually make a difference. But I love that that bottom tier of panels, like the panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, panel 5 and 6. Just great drawings.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
I love how Colossus's arm is extending into the panel, like
Yeah.
extending from panel 5 into panel 6, really leading your eye to the sound effect, which then curves back with the angle of Juggernaut's arms. So there's a real great sense of motion throughout these two panels,
Yeah, I
which is
agree.
exactly
You
what you
really
want
feel.
in
Oh, sorry.
a fight scene.
Yeah, I was going to say, you really feel that Wolverine is throwing him. That's what I got from it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can, like, even though there's only two panels, I saw lots of panels when I saw those two panels.
Yeah.
Because I see
Yep.
Wolverine throwing him, and it's just like, because it's just so well done, like you're saying.
Yeah, you feel the motion.
Cool. And
Um,
poor old Nightcrawler's getting hammered in the background.
yeah, he just gets thrown against the wall, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
poor fella.
And so then we go to the next page.
Yeah,
So this is interesting. They're all. One thing I thought was interesting from a storytelling perspective is at this point, like in the dialogue, they're all calling each other by each other's names, you know, they're naming themselves and talking about themselves in third person. And it was something that I'd kind of made fun of on previous episodes of the show, but I think this was where it kind of clicked for me that, like, oh, this is Claremont's doing this to fill in a new reader. Like, it's immediate. We're only 3 pages into this story, and we already know every character's name in the story. And that's because he's used the technique of having the characters refer to each other by name, which I think is very effective. And I don't know whether it's commonly done as much in modern comics as it was back here, because they really were conscious of the fact that some, new reader could pick up any one of these issues, and we want them to be pretty much able to just pick up any issue and understand, here's who these characters are, here's what their powers are. So they're naming off their powers as they use them. It's all, it sort of adds to that that feeling of the operatic dialogue, where it's not realistic dialogue, it's at this heightened level, but there's also a method behind the madness, which is to fill in the readers as we go through.
Well, what I'd add to that is Claremont does it really well, because I didn't even notice it this time.
Right.
I read this without even making fun of it in my head. I just read it.
Yeah.
The only time I made fun of it, I think, was Cyclops again. So, but I think I've got it out for him now, old Scott. Yeah. But
did I do that? Did I change your opinion so that now you can't take Cyclops's monologues seriously?
I just noticed now, that's all. I noticed from now on, so it's going to happen all the time. If he keeps doing it, I'm going to keep noticing it.
Fair enough. One other thing... What? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying my brain's tuned into his old Cyclops monologues
now. One other thing here is Wolverine uses his claws on Juggernaut's face, seemingly to no effect.
So, yeah, I found that interesting.
Like he says in panel 5, let's see how that armor of yours stands up to the mutant with the adamantium claws. So I'm assuming he's slashing at his helmet to try and get it off, but it's not having any effect, which means his armor is obviously pretty strong, because adamantium is supposed to be like the strongest material in the Marvel universe.
Yeah. And
I don't know, is Juggernaut's armor enchanted and magical as well as... Because I know Juggernaut, something to do with, like, he found some gem or something, and that's how his powers got activated. Yeah.
I'm curious if that's his origin here in the 70s.
Mm.
But yeah, that his armor formed around him when he found the crystal, whatever it was called.
Oh, there you go.
Um, and because in the future Colossus gets the crystal, and boom, he's got that big
Oh.
helmet and everything on him.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so it's just part of the crystal's curse.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen Wolverine cut it up though, and somehow it reforms or whatever. Magic, gotta love
Interesting.
it. But that's like later down the track because
Yeah.
they later down the track they make the helmet what protects him from psychic attacks.
Oh, yes. I remember
I
that.
don't know if that's the
Yeah.
case here because in one of the comics I read, I don't know if it was this one. Sorry if I'm doing the wrong comic. They mentioned that that's the only way to beat him in the past is psychic attacks from Xavier
Right.
or Jean Grey.
Yeah, I do remember an issue later in the
It is an issue later.
200s.
Damn it.
No, I mean like much later. I remember reading an issue in the 200s numbering.
Oh, yep.
I think this was when Mark Silvestri was the artist on it, where Longshot threw his knives under the seam of the helmet and someone was able to pull it off, and then Psylocke did a psychic attack once he had his
Oh,
helmet
well,
off.
I haven't seen that one. Hopefully that's the Uncanny and I get to see it.
Yeah,
I
we'll
missed.
get to it.
That's a new
I think
story for me. Awesome. I'm
it's about
excited.
100 issues, 110 issues from now, I think, something like that.
Okay, so that'll only be 2 years. Awesome.
Exactly. So anyway, yeah, Wolverine's not effective.
Yeah.
Juggernaut swats Wolverine away. On the next page, Nightcrawler's trying to snap Storm out of her claustrophobia, kind of catatonia type state.
Yeah.
This page, I wrote beautiful inks, beautiful artwork on this page. Like the inking on this is so nice. You've got Storm's hair and just that full body shot of Nightcrawler crawling up the wall at the end on the final panel. Looks fantastic. Yep. Really, really nice work. And one other thing, I didn't know Nightcrawler could crawl up walls like Spider-Man.
Funny you should say that, because I didn't either. Yeah. Someone told me a while back that he could stick to walls. I went, no, he can't. I'd know that. I've been reading the X-Men for years.
Right.
And then I read this and he actually goes, hoi, he's sticking to the wall.
Yeah, I was surprised by that because I probably had known that when I was reading these as a kid, but I'd probably forgotten it because
maybe that's
I had the same reaction. I was like, wait, he can climb up walls. Oh, okay. So, interesting. But then, you see him first panel of the next page. He's sticking to the wall like Spider-Man with no assistance.
Haha, he can't reach me.
Another great page. Really nice Storm face in panel 5 of her crying.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And this is this whole page just has great drawings of Storm. That upshot of her face in the final panel, that's a really hard angle to draw a head from. Yeah, it's always a really difficult angle to draw from, like getting the underside of the chin and making it look correct. But Dave Cockrum does a really nice job here. And this is where we start her origin story.
Yes, I like that. The other thing I noted was this is where we start her looking more human and less cat-like in her face.
Yes.
So I don't know
definitely,
if that's intentional or like maybe Chris has gone, no, let's go away from that cat look. She's
Yeah. Yeah, her eyes are drawn just a little more,
Yeah,
yeah,
normal.
as you said, more human-like than
Mm.
cat-like, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then we have this. It's a relatively short origin of
Yeah.
Storm. It goes on for 3 pages,
Yeah.
and
I learned
it's
a few things.
a lot of things.
Mm.
It actually, interestingly, as it did in a few issues past, um, it grounds the action to a specific date. Like it says, Storm was born in 1951.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, because we go to, it says we're in the summer of
Oh, yeah.
1951, and she's 6 months old, which means she's either born early 1951 or late 1950. And this comic came out in 1975,
So she's in her
which
20s.
makes her about 24 or 25 years old. So now we know that's how old Storm is supposed to be in, I guess, X-Men general so then, okay. Now we've
Then
gone
she's like in
into
her 70s now.
well, we go into the weird
Yeah.
realm of comic book continuity math. And so if we say that, okay, so they've locked her down as 24 or 25 years old, but then time doesn't pass in the same at the same rate in comics as it does in the real world. So I don't know, like,
If
it's
it does, they all
interesting.
age very slowly.
Yeah, exactly. So modern day, I would see her as being more like early to mid 30s,
Yeah, not grandma.
maybe. No, she's not. She's not very old, and I don't think she's much older than she was when she started on the team. But she has got, obviously all the X-Men have gone through a lot of adventures, and a lot of water has passed under the bridge. So yeah, it's just interesting to think about. Okay, well then, how old is she now?
Yeah.
Now, quote unquote, now in comics, versus when she first joined the team, because this is still like their second adventure, right? Second or third kind of adventure that they've had as a team since Giant Size X-Men. So she's still relatively new. They're all relatively new to the team here. So yeah, anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore, do they? I've never seen that in a comic where they give a date.
No,
They give
because
a
I
year.
think
They leave
now, yeah, I think they keep it more ambiguous now because they know that they don't want to date the characters. They want to keep them seeming like it's happening in whatever the current modern day is. So yeah, it's interesting that they actually, tie it down to a date here. So she was born in America, but then her parents moved them to Cairo.
Yeah.
And then on this page, I thought very interesting that there's like a little mini history lesson on the middle of the page. Like that middle panel talks about the Suez War that happened when Storm was 5 years old in 1956. And the family, the Monroe family, kind of got caught in a bombing. Okay, here we go. This is another thing.
Oh, okay.
Plane crash. Another plane crash. We've been talking in previous episodes how like plane crash motif is happening over and over and over again. I think this is like the fourth one.
I think
fourth or fifth.
I
Yeah.
reckon Chris Claremont has a bit of a fear of flying. And he's
That's
trying to
what I
share
was
that fear with
wondering.
everyone. He's trying to share
Yeah,
that fear
that's
with everyone. It's like, planes dangerous. Everyone, look, they just explode all the time.
yeah. I was wondering
Flying
the
around,
same
bird hits them.
thing. Yeah. One thing is, it's certainly, which I think I may have talked about in the last episode. Um, it's certainly a very spectacular way to, like have something blow up on this comic page. Is like, oh, the plane crashes,
Yeah.
and lo and behold, a military jet. It's actually named as a French Vautour fighter bomber. Crashes into their home,
Oh,
destroying it. So it's, yeah, her parents are killed in a plane crash, not being passengers in the plane, but being victims of the plane crashing into their home. And Aurora is buried in the rubble, and that's what gives her claustrophobia.
yeah.
And then on the next page, we've got this beautiful
Yeah.
full page image. This is another one of those cool kind of montage images that Dave Cockrum's so good at, and tells a lot of story just in this one page. Of this is basically her growing up a little bit, and tells us that she became a street urchin on the streets of Cairo until she was 12 years old. So she spent her 7 years living on the streets, learning to be a thief and pickpocket. And then she decided, oh, something's calling me to go to Africa, more southern Africa. I'm assuming Kenya, but I'm not sure. The Serengeti Plain.
Yeah, that's it. I thought they said somewhere.
Yeah. So, and that's where she becomes, the whole goddess thing happens, and then eventually Charles Xavier finds her at the beginning of at the top of the next page.
Oh, yep.
So I just thought, yeah, really effective storytelling. I also like the compressed nature of the storytelling in these older comics, where it's just, keeps the story moving, and it just gives you all the information. It gives you a lot of information over the course of 3 pages. Really well done, both story and art, I thought.
I love the connection here as well on this page.
Yes.
Where it goes from that, Xavier finding her or whatever he did, to him sensing that she's in trouble.
Yeah, that was really cleverly done, I thought. We come out of her flashback into his mental powers, sensing that she's thinking of when they first met. So it is sort of, that connect. We go from one end of that mental connection to the other end of the mental connection on Charles's side, which was, really, really cool, really well done. And he's in Jean Grey's hospital room. I thought it was interesting here that they sort of completely put the Phoenix storyline on pause. For the next couple of issues, we're not even dealing with the fact that, hey, she died and then she came back to life, and it's like, never mind all that. We're going to Ireland.
Yeah, we're going to Ireland.
It's really, really interesting how that's just all been sort of put to the side.
She brings it up at the end of this page, though.
Yeah, she does, with that weird effect, and she looks very strange.
Her face is just like, whoa, what's going on? Something's wrong with that now.
Yeah. Also, that Misty Knight is Jean Grey's roommate. Misty Knight is like the first female African-American superhero that Marvel did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wasn't aware that, because she she first appeared in like Iron Fist, I think. Like she's sort of a character that's more associated with Power Man and Iron Fist, which Chris Claremont also wrote. So maybe that is the connection.
Oh, make them flatmates. Nice.
Yeah, so they're roommates, which I
Oh,
wasn't
roommates.
aware of. That was a surprise to me. And then here we go on the next
Oh
page.
yeah, the next page. This one, I'm just like, oh, poor Scott again.
Yep, another example of Professor X being a douchebag.
I love it. You ungrateful, unspeakable cur.
I know. He's so mean to him.
Yeah, he's
Like
like
he
he
is
goes off.
so mean.
Oh, it's full on. It's just like, wow, I don't remember this side of Xavier at all when I read comics.
Yeah, like it's just astonishing how Professor X is so like he's so sort of controlling and manipulative, emotionally manipulative, where on this page Scott's basically saying like, look, my priority is Jean. I've because in the last issue he realized like, oh, Jean's the love
Yeah.
of my life, and if I don't have her, I don't have anything. So now he's trying to explain to Professor X like, look, I'm sorry, but I'm staying here until I know that Jean's okay. And Professor X just lets him have it. Like, oh
Yeah.
my God, just lays into him. And he's so cruel and mean. He was like, you ungrateful, unspeakable cur. I
Yeah, I
took
know. It's
you
full
in.
on, isn't it?
Oh my God.
I took you
Wow.
in, gave you, I gave you. And then he has his dream thing again. That's the only thing that gets Scott off the hook.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Thank God for his bizarre space dream.
Yeah, and even after copying that abuse, he's like, Professor, what is it? What's wrong?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I've really come around to seeing Scott as a much more sympathetic character, even though like he gets a lot of crap these
He does.
days. But yeah, I mean I think he's had a hard go of things.
Mm.
So yeah, it's interesting. I thought that page was really really quite shocking, I thought.
It was. Yeah, I was really surprised by how vicious he got.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So,
So
okay.
then that
Back to Island.
interlude, that interlude is over. That's all we get from that side of the team for this issue.
Oh, yeah.
So then this page we go back to the fight back
Mm-hmm.
in Ireland. Fight is still raging, and nobody's making much of a difference against Juggernaut.
Nope.
He's kind of beating the crap out of all of them. This is kind of where Nightcrawler gets a lot of the focus in this issue with this side of the story. I think, like, you could almost say that Nightcrawler is the main character of this issue because it's sort of, especially in the latter part, from this
I can
point
see that.
on, we're with him the whole time. It's like we see his thoughts. We're tracking him in the story as he jumps around and jumps up into the rafters and stuff, and then the other characters are still fighting, but we're not sort of focusing on them so much. That's just the action that's happening in the background.
Yep. Yep. The thing I also noticed, not just in this one, Nightcrawler doesn't teleport an awful lot.
Right. More
He's in
jumping.
a lot of situations where that would come in handy, and he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious about that. If that's like on purpose, are they trying to hint that it takes a bit of effort or something? Or
I was wondering the same thing. That was what came to mind as I was reading. Was I wonder if they're sort of trying to communicate that the teleportation power takes more effort for him than actually just jumping around.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in a circus, and I don't know whether he was just like a freak show exhibit or whether he was actually like trained as an acrobat in the circus. But clearly he does have acrobatic skills. I don't know whether those are sort of more his mutant part of his mutant
Yeah, like a natural thing.
power set. Yeah, or whether that's something that he just learned as he grew up in the circus. I will say that like Nightcrawler's set of powers that Nightcrawler has is really impressive. Like he's got teleportation, can stick to walls, and then there's another power coming up
Yeah.
in a couple of pages, which is also another cool power.
Yeah. See, I knew about that one, and I love that I've now read the comic where it's introduced.
Right. Yeah. I'd forgotten about that power as well. But I remembered it as I was reading this issue. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So we see it on this page.
I love that I know where it all started.
Yeah. The other thing that happens on this page is that Nightcrawler actually injures Juggernaut. Like he throws hot coals in his face, but then he gets blasted in the back by Black Tom.
Yeah.
And then he falls into the shadows, and then you can see he's partially invisible. The part of him that's in the darkness is invisible, which is pretty cool. And I was thinking, like, I don't think they did that in the movies. I don't think they gave him the invisibility in shadows part of his powers in the movies.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, me neither.
I have no memory of. If they did it, it was very because it didn't stick with me.
Yeah, it went by pretty fast if they did it. And then on the next page.
Yep. The little people.
Yep. I just wrote one word for this page: leprechauns. So leprechauns exist in the Marvel universe, which I guess is not so out of the realm of believability, since we have Norse gods existing with Thor and all sorts of other kind of magical beings.
Oh yeah, there's lots of them. Yeah. I remember, I think it was Alpha Flight, they introduced fairies. So
nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Is it elves? No, I think it's just fairies. Yeah.
Interesting.
Weird. But we won't go into that. We're talking about this comic.
Well, it was certainly surprised. Like, I was like...
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm like, oh,
leprechauns.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
We're an island, why not?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like. It's like, of course there'd be leprechauns. So they actually save Nightcrawler. They pull him through a little passage in the wall that they open up.
And I'm curious why Nightcrawler. The only thing I could get from it is he's like, they've got pointed ears like us. And I went, really? That's what it takes to save him? He's got pointed ears like us. Let's save him. The thing I noticed here is this is the first time I noticed that Black Tom's staff changes size somehow. If that's part of his power or not, because it was like this short little thing at one point. Now it's this giant staff.
Interesting. I wonder if that's just like an artist's mistake. Yeah, like when Cockrum started drawing it, he was like, "Oh yeah, I just draw it like this." But then, as he read the script further, he was like, "Oh, hang on, it's going to need to be a longer size, because if he has to do this and that, it's got to be bigger." I don't know. Yeah, interesting.
I don't know. I can't remember too much about Black Tom, even from the 90s and stuff when he was in those comics, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, me neither. I
don't remember him having Hordak's costume either. So I'm going to keep throwing that in there. That's the first thing I noticed. I went, I've seen that costume before. Oh, yeah. She-Ra. So it's like, did She-Ra steal it from the X-Men?
I think they did.
I think they did. I think this is well before.
Yeah, it is. It's like at least 10 years before.
And I love this page.
It's a fantastic page. That final panel, like what a great drawing. You can feel the power in Colossus's punch.
Yeah.
And I just love the twist of his upper torso, that you can see the twist of his body.
Yeah.
Yes. It's so well drawn. It's just great. Really, this is... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the other thing I love about this is it gives you hope. It's like, yeah, get him.
Right.
Woo, he's going to beat him.
Yep.
You're wrong.
Yeah, it's a great drawing. So good.
Yeah.
I love that. And then on the next page, really nice drawing of Colossus's face in the first panel. I just love the way that Colossus has all the black around his eyes, and his eyes are all white.
Yeah.
I always thought that was just such a cool look. And then Colossus is doing some acrobatics of his own.
Yeah, I found that really interesting that they chose to do that.
Yeah,
He's
totally.
never come across as an acrobatic guy to me.
Yeah. The castle here is being absolutely demolished.
Yeah, big time.
By because you've got these two heavy hitters, Colossus and Juggernaut, smashing each other into the walls of the castle. So much for the Cassidy family's, Cassidy clan's ancestral home. There's not going to be much left of it after this.
No.
And the wall collapses near Storm, but she can actually... hang on a sec. Oh no, I'm jumping ahead. Yeah. She finally... Yeah, that's the next issue. But she finally overcomes her fear on the final page. But it's to no avail, because this was kind of interesting. Yeah. It says that Storm, I guess, projects lightning at Juggernaut, but then she says, he's hurling my force bolt back at me. And I was wondering,
I found that really weird.
How does he do that?
Yeah, I'm like, I've never heard of Juggernaut having that ability.
No, that was a puzzler. That was one thing where I was like, I can't work out how that's happening. Maybe. I mean, it could just be part of the magical abilities of his armor, that it's just no matter what you throw at him, it's going to be reflected back at you or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I have no memory of him being able to do that. But I mean, he's not in a lot of issues throughout the 90s, right. So I don't have a really good understanding of his powers. Yeah, I just find it funny that she calls her what could only be lightning, considering she's got weather powers. She calls it a force bolt.
Right.
What? Wasn't it lightning? What, have you got new powers now? Has everyone got new powers on this page?
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
I'm going to start flying now? What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's strange. I wonder if it's something to do with the Marvel method of the relationship between the writer and the artist, which we've discussed before, where perhaps in the outline, the plot outline for this page, Claremont wrote something like, Storm attacks Juggernaut, but he turns her attack back on her without any maybe he just wrote it really simply like that with no specifics. And then Dave Cockrum may have interpreted that as like, well, how would she attack him? Oh, I'll just have her like shooting lightning bolts at Juggernaut. And then maybe Claremont had to sort of make sense of those drawings when he got them back and scripted it in such a way that he's like, okay, well, it looks like she's hurling some kind of energy attack So maybe
Yeah,
he
'cause
was
that would
just
make
like,
sense.
force bolt, that'll do.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the only thing that can, I reckon, makes sense, because he could have just picked up a chunk of rock and thrown it at her or something. That would have made more
Right.
sense.
Yeah. So I don't know, but in any case, we have another classic cliffhanger ending to this issue.
Yes, they love these cliffhangers.
They sure do. It's the best way to end a comic, I think. And the X-Men are seemingly defeated, and Charles Xavier is next. Like the ultimate plan of Black Tom and Juggernaut is they don't really want to defeat the X-Men as much as they want to lure Charles to Ireland, so that then they can take him out. And so that's the end. That's where this issue ends.
Yeah,
Which means that's where this episode of our show ends.
Yes, well, the thing I'll point out as well is the fact they want Charles is probably the only thing that saves them. They would have just killed them otherwise.
Right, because they
need
exactly.
him alive to lure Xavier.
Right.
So
that's right.
Their hatred of Xavier saves the X-Men.
That's a good point.
That's just my little tidbit. So Matt,
you're right.
The question of this episode is, what is the band name for this issue?
Oh, yes. Okay, so if you go back to page 2.
Oh, that's a bit of see if I can find it.
There are a couple of choices from this one. On page 2, we have which character is it? Oh yeah. Banshee is thinking Black Tom, Juggernaut and Black Tom are taking us like we were rank amateurs. So one band name choice was the Rank Amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
And on page 3, Wolverine calls Colossus a tin dummy. So I thought the Tin Dummies, that's a kind of cool band name.
I like that one. That's really cool.
All right, the Tin Dummies it is.
Tin Dummies it is. I like it. Cool. Well, everyone, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, everyone. And if you'd like to add anything to what we've talked about for this issue, whether you agree with us, disagree with us, or you've got some other tidbits about the issue, put them in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share the video as well. That's always good as well. Let other X-Men fans get to see us rip apart a comic in a good way. And so next time we'll be doing issue 103, which is 2 months after this one in the release, because they were releasing every 2 months back then. And until then, I'm Siz. You can find me online at comics, there is no I in comics.net.au. And where can people find your stuff, Matt?
You can find my stuff at steamrollerman.com. Thank you very much.
Much easier than mine. My blabbling nonsense. Well, goodbye, everyone. And see you next episode when we go through 103.
All right. See you next time, Siz.
See ya.